I could walk around. So I had her attach, the nurse I had attached like a little Bluetooth monitor, and my husband said I looked like an Iron Man because, you know, like a little transformer or something. It was like kind of like a little battery pack that's stuck to me. So I had that, and you can go in the shower. They put a little clear thing over that. So I got in the shower, and I don't know if it really helped intensify them. I think they were still the same amount of pain and same amount of space apart. I think at this time they were about 3 to 5 minutes apart for a while, my contractions. So I had gotten in there, had the essential oils going, and I think, let me look at my doula's notes. So then around midnight I decided to do another pelvic exam because I was like, okay, I came here at a 6 or a 7. I think they more so said I was a 6 when I got there. So I'm like, okay, surely I'm more dilated now, and a lot more pain, and I started to get a little bit nauseous, so I did ask for Zofran. So they did give me that through the IV, and at midnight, so I got there around 7 p.m. At 12:30 midnight, I had another exam, and I was just so discouraged because I was only at about a 7, I think. So it was very starting to get a little bit frustrating, and they did ask if they wanted me to break my water. I was just really hesitant because I knew that that would make things so much more intense, but also I knew that that would get things going probably and hopefully help her drop. The issue with during my labor is that she would not drop at all. So there's different stations. There's like a -3, -2, -1, and a 0. And then 1, 2, 3. And once you're at a 3, it's perfect time to push because she's very low. And I was still at like a 2 or a 1, very high. Yeah. So they had checked me and she was still very high. My doula did say that, okay, so they broke my water, and that was crazy. It just kept coming out. I had to go through like 2 different pads. I had a ton of amniotic fluid. So we're doing that, and then this is the time where I wanted to really speed things up and get things going because I was still only like at that 7 centimeters. So I stood against a wall, and my husband, actually my husband was against a wall and I was leaning against him, and then he would lift my belly up with a rebozo, or he could just use his hands, and it made it so much more intense. But that does help baby get in a better position and hopefully drop as well. So we did almost 5 of those, and I was like, I am done with those. I don't want to do those again. Let me just go on the birth ball and like be on all fours hanging over that. And so we had done that at 12:30. At 2 a.m. contractions were 1 to 2 minutes apart, although not showing on the strip because it had malfunctioned, I guess. So I didn't know this, but I guess the strip on my belly wasn't really showing contractions that well. But every 1 to 2 minutes, I was like leaning over something, moaning, and trying to get through the contraction. So then this is where I started to realize something is probably wrong. I had watched so many birth videos. I know people who've done unmedicated births, and usually by the time you're 7 or 8 centimeters, things go very fast. You're in transition, your body is really having productive contractions, and not only that, but your baby isn't that high at a 2 or even a 0. Like, they are way below that, and my baby was still so high. So around, I think 2 or 3 a.m. My nurses were so great though. Apparently, I didn't know this during this, but my husband had said, Nikki, the nurse, she just really believed in me that I could do it unmedicated. She was like, you can do this. And I had asked for something. I totally forgot to ask for nitrous oxide because that was in my birth plan that I was okay with doing as something that, you know, can take the edge off, and I forgot that was a thing. She did say, you know, I know you are in a lot of pain. You can have something in your IV, and I am glad I did my research because I did not want that. I didn't want the fentanyl. They basically give you a painkiller and you still feel everything, you just feel out of it and loopy, and I didn't want that, especially already with my headache. I'm like, I don't want to feel out of it. I'll just try to keep getting through it. So I had an exam around 3, and I remember looking at the ceiling, and it just took a little bit too long for her to tell me where I was at, and I just had a feeling like I am not very far and I don't want to cry. And I was like looking up at the ceiling and she said, okay, Lauren, you're at a 9. And you know, a lot of people would be happy about that, but I knew something was wrong because it just took way too long and she was still way too high. So I was 9 centimeters dilated, 100% of face, which was great, but the look on her face was like, it is taking a bit long. So I was in this position, they kind of call it the throne, and I was on a little foam thing sitting where there's a cutout for your spot where the baby comes out, and I was sitting there and it was the most excruciating pain, and I don't want to scare people, but in my hips, it felt like my hips were getting ripped open, or like torn apart from the socket, I guess. And I know that's really like traumatic, but honestly, your body can handle a lot more than you think it can. When you're going unmedicated, you have that natural oxytocin pumping through your body. My husband was so tired and he was like, how is she getting through this? But your body like goes into overdrive because of all the great hormones that are pumping through your body, and adrenaline and oxytocin helping get your baby here, and helping you with pain. The thing with being induced with Pitocin, which is fake oxytocin, your body doesn't produce that good oxytocin to help you get through the pain easier. So keep that in mind. But the pain in my hips was just so bad that no position would help, because anytime my legs were bent, which is pretty much every position you want to be in for labor, like bent over the birth ball or knees up, like anytime they were up, or like in that position, you know, like your body's here and then your leg is out, like if you're sitting in a chair, like that position hurt my hips so much. It was like the front of my hips, like the round ligaments, I think, right there. So I was just like screaming, kind of. I think, I actually don't know, I might have been like screaming inside. And I just said, like, Josh, please pray for me. And my doula and my husband were praying for me, like, please allow this to, you know, allow baby to drop and to get in a good position. Because keep in mind, even if I was I mean, I was at a 9, almost a 10, ready to push, and I put that in quotations because you can't push a baby out even if you're 10 centimeters and your baby is still that high, like at a station 0. You want them at least at a 2 or a 3 to start pushing, because it's just too high. So I said, I want the epidural. And my nurse was so great and my husband was so great, because they knew that I did not want it. And I had told my husband that, don't let me get it unless I've asked for it like 3 different times, like at a span. I couldn't just be like, I want epidural, I want, like within 5 minutes. So that was kind of the first time I asked, and my nurse, I think, was like trying really hard, which I appreciated, but in my mind I knew I needed it. This was 5 a.m. at this point. I think this was hour 30 of labor. So going on 30 hours of labor, and then pretty much no sleep those few days before because of my prodromal labor. And I just knew something was wrong. Like, she was not dropping, it's not normal, and I knew the nurses kind of had a feeling as well. So a few times of asking for the epidural, I think a few hours go by, or 1 hour, and it's now around 5 a.m. and I was like, I need it. I can't do it anymore, which makes me so emotional because I wanted to do it. And I would have if she was lower, but it's okay. And all birth is amazing and it's okay. And I do feel like I got that full-on experience of natural labor, that's for sure. Just not the natural part of, you know, the pushing stage of being unmedicated. So the epidural, the anesthesiologist came in. She took forever. They said it'll be about 10 minutes. It was, I asked my husband, I was like, how long was it actually? It was about 20 minutes. My contractions were 1 minute apart. So in that span of 20 minutes, I was having those 1 minute apart. I was in so much pain at this point, and I was more nervous to get the epidural, honestly, because I didn't know like how it was going to affect my spine. I didn't know how I was going to sit still, hunched over, having a contraction every minute. She finally comes in, she's getting things set up. I'm just like, where are they? Like crying out in pain, honestly, like crying out to God kind of, because I just knew something was just off and wrong. Like it shouldn't be this, like, you know, transition is very short, like 8 centimeters to 10, it's very short, and then you're ready to push. And I was at a 9, and it was not ready, you know, I was not ready to push, of course. She was so high in my uterus or pelvis. So she finally comes in, she puts the epidural on my back. I'm hunched all the way over. You have to hunch over like a C curve. My husband's holding me up here, and there's a nurse making sure I don't move. I was trying so hard not to move, and I wasn't moving. I was just like moaning in so much pain, because if you can stand up and like lean over something, you can get through the contractions a lot better. Hunching over your baby and making that pressure so much worse into your pelvis, into your lower uterus area, is so much worse. So I'm moaning in pain. She's like, how far dilated is she? And she's like, she's at a 9. And I could tell, I'm like, she's probably just so annoyed that I am not just sucking it up and getting the baby out, because she wasn't in the room. She doesn't know like the reasoning why I'm getting this. She doesn't know how high the baby is. She doesn't know how long I've been in labor for like 30 hours. So I don't blame her for that, but I could tell she's like, why is this girl getting this? Like, just push through, which was frustrating. So then I see my husband look a little bit concerned. Basically she had hit a nerve or something in my spine. So she hit a nerve or something, and my leg just went straight up. Like you're at the doctor's office and somebody hits your knee. It like went straight up, and I was like, ow. It was like a shooting pain down my knee, and then my leg moved. I was like, I did not do that. She's like, I told you not to move. I said, I did not do that. My leg moved on its own. I'm so sorry. As I'm in pain. So she takes it out, does another one. It does the same exact thing again, and my leg shoots up. And I'm at this point, I'm like still in pain. I'm wondering why she can't get it. I'm starting to get nervous, because that was one of my fears. Being paralyzed or having a ton of back pain caused from an epidural. And so then Josh was like, I could see his face, and I had to stop looking at him because it was making me nervous, because he is a paramedic and a firefighter, and he knows like something is wrong. Like, why can't you get the epidural? And apparently her face behind me was really nervous, like, why isn't it working? What's going on with her leg and her nerves? So the third time she finally was able to get it. Keep in mind, I've been in pain this whole time, hunched over the whole time. I don't know the exact amount of time it took for her to get it, but she finally got it, and I was able to lay down and sleep for about an hour to 2 hours. My poor husband and doula and photographer, they are such troopers, and they were awake with me for so long, all day and all night. And by this time it's about 7 a.m. and I had been able to rest. Thankfully, I had an amazing epidural in the sense of being able to move. I was able to get on all fours. I was able to feel the contractions of the like pressure, a little bit of pain from them, but not nearly as where it was. And I was able to move my legs. Like I said, I could get on all fours in the bed and lift my own legs up. So at this time I was ready to push. So baby was still, now I think at like a station 0, which is a little bit better, but you cannot push the baby out at that level. So it was time to start pushing. The nurse that was there was amazing, and I had a new doctor. It was the next day. I didn't have my doctor, no offense, but we just didn't vibe. This new doctor was amazing. She was like, your pushes are incredible. You have such a strong uterus. Like, you are doing this. Like, she had her hand in checking my cervix as I was pushing. She felt the baby moving. So that was an encouraging and good sign. So this was about 3 hours of pushing. I was on my back for some. I was on the side with my leg up, the other side with my leg up. I did all fours, different positions, really to try to help gravity bring baby down, and nothing was bringing her down, unfortunately. So the doctor had come in at about 3 hours, and I just kind of knew, like, her face, you know, when she heard that it's been 3 hours, she, like, something, you know, in her was like not looking great. I looked at Josh and I'm like, I think they have a policy or something that you can only push a certain amount, because why is she like acting like that? And I started getting really nervous. So after all that, 4 hours later, I pushed for 4 hours, and it did not feel like 4 hours, honestly. It felt like very fast, because you're like in that labor land, you don't know time, you're resting in between them. I was pushing every contraction for 3 hours, and the doctor had come in, and she just looked so defeated, and I don't want to cry. And she said, you know, you can keep pushing, but she is so high up there that I don't want to risk you harming the baby or me harming you, because, you know, if the baby is that high and you're trying to push her out and maybe you get a little bit further, it's going to lead to probably vacuum extraction, episiotomy, or even worse, in an it can turn into an emergency situation. And I knew with all the research I did with the epidural that you know, it's not great for the baby's heart rate and it is going to drop. I did forget to say, at about 2 hours of pushing, I did have to get Pitocin. I didn't want to, but I was fine with it because, one, I couldn't feel the contractions that badly because Pitocin makes them feel way worse. But I did need it because Pitocin makes your contractions regular and it makes it a lot better to push. So if they're 1 minute, 2 minutes apart, you can push a lot longer. For me, it was like 4 minutes here and then I could push, and then 3 minutes push, and then 5 minutes push. So I wanted them more on like a scale of evenness. So it did help with that, I will say. I'm thankful for Pitocin in that sense instead of inducing labor. So I had the Pitocin. It was helping the contractions get way more frequent so I could push a lot more during those hours. But by hour 4, the doctor had said, I highly suggest you getting a C-section. I don't want to cry. But it was really hard because I had seen my husband, and he was just like, he just like broke down because he knew how hard I was trying for those 30 plus hours. And it was so hard for him to like see me in all this pain and stuff. So it was really hard for him to see me in this pain. And he knew that was the last thing I wanted. I did not want a C-section, obviously, but we knew we wanted to do what's best for Paisley. So they left the room and they had us talk about it. So we talked about it, and I just was so scared, honestly, about like being in this major surgery, having your stomach cut open. And my mom had a C-section and she had like some issues after, but I did know that I was in good hands because those doctors were amazing and they were just so sweet. And the nurse was like, I'm gonna be with you the whole time because your husband can't be in there in the beginning when you're getting all prepped for the surgery. So I was like, I'm gonna be alone. Like, I was all nervous and I was just terrified, honestly, to be on a table while they're like pulling things out of you and all that. So that happened. We talked about it, and that was kind of our only option. So that's what I'm saying. I had 3 different births, you know, natural, push with an epidural, and then a C-section. So honestly, I got all the experience, you know, just come to me for all the experience. Just kidding, but it was great in that sense. And we just prayed and like gave it to God because I couldn't do anything more and I had tried so hard. So I was getting ready for surgery and they're prepping me, and my husband has the hat on and all of that, and they wheeled me in, and I'm just like looking at the ceiling, trying not to panic. I was shaking so hard, and the guy was like, you're gonna be fine, like you're fine, you can't feel anything. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm freaking out, so please stop saying I'm gonna be fine. And the other doctor was so amazing, and she was just making me feel calm. And then they opened me up. My husband was able to come in and be with me and hold my hand for that. And it was very quick getting her out. It was about 10 minutes getting her out, and then the rest of the surgery, the full thing, was probably 30 to 45 minutes. But they took her out and lifted her up, and I couldn't believe there was a baby inside me this whole time, and she was 9 pounds 21 inches long. I did have her at 41 weeks, 5 days, which I should have mentioned in the beginning. So she was a very big baby. I was a big baby. I was 42 weeks late, or 42 weeks with my mom. And I was 10 pounds, 21 inches. So we're both 21 inches, me and Paisley. So she was very large. I remember I heard one of the doctors that was doing the surgery say, wow, she has such a strong uterus. Like, that's awesome, which is great for pushing. But yeah, so drink your red raspberry leaf tea if you want a strong uterus, and eat your dates for a soft cervix. But that was that, and they took her out and they weighed her, and Josh got to go with her. And I just was you know, just laying there like, whoa, what just happened? And I got to see her, and it's hard to see when you have a C-section because everything's like, they're putting the baby really close to you and you're like, wait, I can't really tell what she looks like. I'm like, does she have hair, like, or no hair? Because I didn't really have a lot of hair when I was born, and they took it off and it's like lightish or like a brownish blonde color, but it was crazy. And then it kind of sucks because you have to lay there by yourself for 30 minutes looking at the ceiling while they sew you up and put everything back inside of you. And that was kind of the sucky part, but afterwards you can do a whole hour of golden hour, which is what I really wanted to do. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do like a super long delayed cord clamping. I think they were able to wait till it was white though. It got white pretty fast from what I hear. But they can only do a minute long of waiting in a C-section. I did keep my placenta, and I am taking the placenta pills, so I'm hoping that helps with any postpartum depression if it comes my way. And I'm taking beef liver, which is great for milk supply. But with all that said, I got to do a skin to skin for golden hour. The lactation consultant came in and helped me and like put baby on the chest, and I got to learn how to breastfeed. And yeah, so then I was breastfeeding, and for, you know, a little bit less than an hour, and then our parents came and got to see her for a little bit, and then it was about 8 or 9 o'clock by then, and we got into our room, and the rest is history. Recovery has been not as bad as I thought, honestly. They did say the younger you are and more active you are, the recovery is going to be a lot easier. So I will say, now that it's been a week, I have like no pain down on my incision area, but I was pushing for 4 hours, so I was very swollen down there. So I did have to, like, that's the thing, I had recovery as if I had a vaginal birth and a C-section. So that was a little bit hard because it was like I did both, but not as bad as an actual vaginal delivery, especially for a 9-pound baby. So I think her cheeks were just too big to fit down my birth canal because she was not fitting, you know, because I was pretty late. So that is that. Please ask me any questions that you have below for my birth story, or if you want me to do an unmedicated prep video. I next time will hope to not go past 40 weeks because I think that's why she did not fit, because she was just too big. But that's my story, and I hope that this has helped some of you guys that have had any kind of relation of birth story to me. And I have to go feed my baby, so I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Follow me on Instagram. You can always ask me questions there. I usually do an Instagram question box and then I answer them here. But we're recovering well, and breastfeeding is going so good, so I'm very excited about that. But I think that is all, and yeah, thank you guys. Bye.